So this video is going to be looking at music theory I think you should know. Just wanted to, or needed to sync up the video really quick. So basically what we're going to be looking at is how to build the chords of a key. And ultimately it's going to be how to understand the relationship between the scale of a key and then the chords of a key. There's a relationship between the scale and the chords, and basically the chords are built from the ingredients of the scale. So we're just going to work within G minor, and I'm going to show you how this all works. And so if you're in the key of G minor, this is basically what you need to know in order to kind of have some kind of competency with music theory, or at least have a basic understanding of music theory. So let's just work with G minor. Now I don't have the scale of G minor memorized, so I just Googled it, and here it is. G, A, B flat, C, D, E flat, and F. So let's just go ahead and write that down. So we have G, A. Actually, I'm going to move these down quickly. G, A, B flat, C, D, E flat, and F. All right, so that's the scale of G minor, so pitches. Okay, and another thing I'm going to do really quick is just numerically label these. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There we are. And let's just tidy that up really quick. And so I'm going to introduce a little bit of terminology here. Scale degree. Yay. So if I said, what's the third scale degree of G minor, you would be able to tell me it's B flat. If I said, what's the seventh scale degree of G minor, you would tell me it is F. Another thing I want to introduce you to, just because I'm going to talk about it a little bit later, it just, and it's also to introduce it in this video so we can just kind of use it in the next video talking about harmony, is actually the scale degree names, okay? The first scale degree is called the tonic, okay? The second scale degree is called the supertonic. And that's easy to remember because it's above the tonic, just like superscript. And so the third scale degree is called the mediant, and we'll go over why in a second. Fourth scale degree is called the subdominant. Fifth scale degree is called the dominant. So as you can see, it's easy to remember the fourth scale degree is a subdominant just because it's below the dominant. The sixth is called the submediant, and the seventh scale degree is called the subtonic. And we can easily imagine why, because if we just kind of start the scale over, we can see that the subtonic is indeed below the tonic. So that's easy to remember that. And what's interesting is that all these scale degree names are actually just kind of centered around just two of the scale degrees, the first and the fifth, so the tonic and the dominant. As you can see, here's the tonic, and then we have the supertonic and the subtonic, and here's the dominant with the subdominant just below the dominant. So that leaves the mediant and the submediant. What are those? Well, what is the mediant in the middle of? It's in the middle of the tonic and the dominant. Look at that. So the mediant is important just because it's in between the tonic and the dominant. That's why it's called the mediant. It's in the middle. All right, and so I was a little hasty in deleting these guys, but tonic, 1, and then G. And so what about the submediant? Well, what is that in between? Well, again, that's in between the tonic and the, if we were going to move down a fifth. So really quick, if we're going to come from the tonic and go up a fifth, we're going to land on the dominant. So tonic, and we're going to go up a fifth. All right, we're going to go up 5 scale degrees, and we're going to land on the dominant. And if we're on the tonic and we go down 5 scale degrees, we land on the subdominant, which is actually another way to think of the subdominant. It's the dominant below the tonic when you go down 5 scale degrees. But what's in between the tonic and the subdominant? What's in between the tonic and the dominant below the tonic? Well, it's the submediant. So it's the mediant below the tonic, in between the tonic and the subdominant. So I hope that's not too confusing, but you could see that the scale degree names are ultimately just based off of these two, the tonic and the dominant. And the tonic and the dominant are the most important scale degrees in the music that we listen to, which is Western music. So I thought I would introduce you to these guys just because we're going to be referencing them later on. Okay, so we have the pitches and we have this more abstract knowledge of different scale degree names. All right, so The next thing we need to do is build the chords. We know the scale. What about the chords? Well, you could be like, well, let's just Google the chords. And yes, you totally can Google the chords, of course, and then use those chords if you want to stick to the G minor scale or the key of G minor. But like I said, it's important to understand the relationship between the scale and the chords of a key, the scale of a key and the chords of a key, because the chords are built from these little 7 ingredients. And so the relationship, basically, let's start spelling it out. A chord can be built from every single one of these notes. Okay? Another way of saying that is that each one of these notes serves as a root note for a chord in the key of G minor. Okay? So for example, there's a chord built off of G. There's a chord built off of A. There's a chord built off of B flat. There's a chord built off of F, all right? So let's start building those chords. And so in order to understand how to build those chords, let's just drop this guy right here, and we're just gonna start a new tab called Chords. And the way that you build the chords is very easy. Okay, you start with the root note, and then you just go 1, 3, 5 off of the scale degree of that root note. Now, I know that might sound kind of intimidating, but let's do it because it's very, very easy. So let's say that we want to build the chord with the root note of G. So the first, we're going to start with G, and then we're going to count 1, 3, 5 off the scale degree. So 1 is just going to be G. And then 3 is just going to be 1, 2, 3, so B flat, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is going to be D. All right. So we have G, B flat, and D. And so as you see, G, B flat, D. G, B flat, D. All we're doing is we're skipping the A and the C. So we're kind of just selecting every other note here. So G, B flat, D. So let's do the A then too. So again, what we're going to do is we're going to choose the root note, which is going to be A, and then we're going to go 1, 3, 5 off that scale degree. So we're going to start with 1, and then we're going to go 3. So 1, 2, 3, so C. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, E flat. So exact same thing, right? So all we're doing is just kind of selecting every other kind of scale degree here. So A, C, E flat. We're skipping the B flat and the D. Okay, and so this is, so let's just build the B flat this way, okay? So instead of going 1 through 5, let's just be a little bit lazier and just go B flat, D, F, because we're just going to select every other scale degree. So B flat, D, F, that's the chord built off of the 3rd scale degree, which is the mediant chord. So B flat, D, and F, D, and F. And so this is kind of important where you're just kind of skipping these, all right? Why is that? And this is where I want to introduce the idea of a third, the interval of a third. Okay, so this is an interval of a third. G to B flat is an interval of a third. G to A is an interval of a second. And G to C is an interval of a fourth. Okay, but a chord is ultimately just stacked thirds. That's all that a chord is. It's just stacked thirds. So when we have this B flat here, we're going to get the third, which is the B flat to the D. Okay, that's an interval of a third. And then again, we're just going to stack another third on top of that. So we're going to go from D to F. And that's an interval of a third. And so these are just stacked thirds. That's what a chord is. That's the right way to kind of understand what a chord is. You're just stacking thirds. And we're going to get to a little bit more fancy chords in a moment. But let's just continue filling this out. So here we have C. And so the next thing we're going to do is again, we're just going to stack thirds. So C to E flat. Okay. And then E flat to, what do we do now? Well, all we do is we just skip the F and we go down to G. All right. So E flat, skip F and G. So E flat to G is an interval of a third. Okay. Cool. So now we have D, and again, we're just stacking thirds. So D to F, so D and F, that's an interval of a third, as you can see. And then so from F to what? What are we going to go to? So we're going to go F, and we're going to skip G and go to A, because the distance from F to an A is an interval of a third. And then so what about E flat? E flat, we're going to skip the F and go to G, and then we're going to go from G to B flat, because that's an interval of a third. So E flat, G, B flat. E flat, G, B flat. Okay, and then finally we have F, and then we're going to skip the G to go to A. So F, A, that's an interval of a third. Again, we're going to stack another third, so A to C. So F, A, C. That's going to give us our chord built on the 7th scale degree, the subtonic. All right? And so, like I said, let's figure out how we can make even more fancy chords. All right? You may have heard of 7th chords or 9th chords. They're very popular in all sorts of different music, and I'm just going to scale this back a little bit to fit everything in. All right, so again, all we're going to do is just stack thirds. All right, so we stacked a third here, and then there's a third here, an interval of a third, and then we're going to just stack a third right here. So D to what? D to F. All right, so there we go. Now these are the 4 notes found in G minor 7, G, B flat, D, F. All right, what about G minor 9? All we have to do is stack a third on top of the F. So here's F, and then we're just going to stack a third. We're going to skip the G and go to A. So F to A, that's an interval of a third. All right, just as we've seen F to A here, and just as we've seen F to A here, it's just an interval of a third, okay? And so this is G minor 9. These 5 notes make up G minor 9. So let's go over to Ableton really quickly and let's just listen to what these sound like, all right? So this first guy right here, G, B flat, D, is going to be your basic G minor triad. Why triad? Because there's 3 notes, G, B flat, D, so that's a triad, okay? So a basic G minor triad, and that's going to be like this. G, B flat, D. G minor triad. Okay, now to get the G minor 7, we need to add in the F. All right. So let's G, B flat, D, F. There's your G minor 7. And then to add in the A, we're going to get the G minor 9. All right. So we have G, B flat, D, F. Adding in the A. There we go. Now we have G minor 9. All right, what a great chord that is. So what we're going to do is let's just look at these 3 chords back to back. So here's G minor, G minor 7, G minor 9. Oh my gosh, let's do that again. G minor, G minor 7, G minor 9. Great, all right? And so that's how you build these fancy chords, or as they're appropriately called, extended chords, because these right here are extensions. You're extending the chord. And the same process applies for every other chord built on the scale degrees. So you're just going to add a third, 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 add a third. And then you just fill that out, okay? And that's how you just build the extended chords. But we're not really going to look at extended chords because they're just there to add flavor. The triad is the most important thing because, as I have been saying, this is a G minor triad, all right? But how do I know that it's minor? Now you might say, well, we're in the G minor scale. It's just kind of obvious. Well, it's not obvious. How do I know that this is a B flat major chord? How do I know this is an E flat major chord? How do I know this is a C minor chord? This is a D minor chord. All right, we need to figure out a way to show that these are, we need to, in other words, what we need to do is determine the quality of a chord. The question now is, we have all the notes of the chords in the key of G minor, but we want to know the quality of the chords in G minor. And so the quality just refers to whether something is major or minor. However, there's actually 4 qualities. There's major, minor, augmented, and diminished. So I'm going to write these down over here, quality, all right? So we have major, we have minor, we have augmented, and we have diminished. I always feel like I'm going to spell diminished wrong. I don't know why. Okay, and so basically now we need to go back to the idea of a third, okay? And so there's 2 different types of thirds. You have a major third and you have a minor third. Oops, minor third, okay? And so, yes, we have the interval of a third in the abstract, but then we have a major third and a minor third. And depending on whether the stacked thirds contain a major third or a minor third, or a major third and a minor third, depending on the type of third that exists in these stacked thirds, that's going to determine the quality of the chord. Okay, and so let's look at all the possibilities here. So here we have quality, and what we're gonna do is look at the bottom interval and the top interval. Okay, so what do I mean by that? So here in the G minor triad, as we said, these are stacked thirds. Okay, you know what? Let's actually look at a sheet of music really quick. Chords maybe will do it for us. So if we look at images. Sheet music. There we go. Cool. So as you can see, there's stacks. The chords are just stacks of notes, but in particular, there's stacks of thirds. So you might not be able to read music, but C to E is an interval of a third. And then E to G, that's an interval of a third. These are just stacked thirds. And that's where the stacking language kind of comes from, is when you're looking at sheet music, it's just a stack of notes. And so it's a little bit easier to see in vertical form than it is in the horizontal form we have here. But I think you get the point. So these are stacks of thirds, and depending on the type of third that is involved here, that's going to determine the quality. Okay, and so we have a bottom interval, okay, and we have a top interval. Let's look at all the different possibilities. So if we have a major third on the bottom and a minor third on top, that's going to give us a major chord. If we have, and the minor chord is the opposite. If we have a minor third on the bottom and a major third on top, that's going to give us a minor chord. If we have a major third on the top and the bottom, that's going to give us an augmented chord. If we have a minor third on the top and bottom, then we're going to have a diminished chord. All right, and so that makes sense. It's the only types of combinations. So it exhausts all possibilities there. All right, maybe let's make this look like a kind of table. All right, so there we go. And so the question is let's figure out what types of thirds these are. Is this a minor third or is this a major third? All right, so what we need the help of is a piano. So let's go grab a piano really quick off my desktop. Piano with labels. There we are. All right, so let's shrink this down a bit. Cool. All right, and another thing I'm going to do is I just want to add another column here to the left, and we're going to call this quality. Okay, so we're going to just start naming, figuring out the quality of each of the chords in the key of G minor. All right, so from G to B flat. What kind of third is this? Is it a major third or a minor third? Well, let's define these really quickly. A major third is going to be a distance of 4 semitones. A minor third is going to be a distance of 3 semitones. All right, and so let's figure this out. G to B flat, what is that? So here's G and here's B flat. What's the distance? So starting on G, we go 1, 2, 3. That's plus 3 semitones. So that's going to be a minor third. So this bottom interval here in G, in the tonic chord, is going to be a minor third. Okay. What about the top interval from B flat to D? So here's B flat and here's D. So what's the distance there? So B flat. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That's plus 4 semitones. That's a major third on top. So we have a minor third on the bottom and a major third on top. Let's come over to our table. We have a minor third on the bottom, a major third on top. So that's going to be a minor chord, and that's why this is a G minor. It's because of the type of third interval that's in this stacking of thirds. All right. What about the supertonic? Okay. So here we have AC. Okay. Let's figure out what that is. What is that? Is that going to be a major third or a minor third? So here's A and here's C. Let's figure out the distance. So starting on A, so 1, 2, 3. So that's plus 3 semitones. That's going to be a minor third. So this is going to be a minor third interval here in the bottom. So what about from C to E flat? So here's C and E, here's E flat. So we go 1, 2, 3, that's plus 3 semitones. So we have a minor third both in the top interval and the bottom interval. What's that? And that's going to be a diminished chord. So here we have a diminished. See, I spelled it wrong. Diminished. All right, cool. So the supertonic is going to be an A diminished. What about the mediant chord? So we have a B flat to D. What's that? Here's B flat, there's D. So let's go, starting with B flat, we go 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so that's going to be plus 4 semitones. So that's going to be a major third in the bottom interval. What about the top interval? So we have D to F. So here's D, here's F. 1, 2, 3. That's plus 3 semitones. All right, so we have a minor third, plus 3 semitones is going to be a minor third. So we have a minor third in the top interval, a major third in the bottom interval, all right? And so that's going to be a major chord. So we have B flat major. All right, what about C to E flat? Okay, we're now on the subdominant chord. So C to E flat. C to E flat is what? Let's count it. So here's C, 1, 2, 3. That's plus 3 semitones. So C to E flat in the bottom interval, that's going to be a minor third. Okay, what about E flat to G? So here's E flat and G. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. That's plus 4 semitones. All right. So we have a minor third in the bottom, and we have a major third in the top. So minor third in the bottom, major third on the top. That's going to be a minor chord. So we have C minor. What about this chord, the dominant chord of G minor? So we have D and F. So what is that? D and F. So that's going to be, let's see, starting with D, 1, 2, 3. That's plus 3 semitones. All right. What about the top interval from F to A? So from F to A, what are we going to do? We're going to count. So F, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4 semitones, plus 4 semitones. That's a major third. So we have a minor third in the bottom, a major third on top. That's going to be a minor chord. So we have D minor. So in the key of G minor, the dominant chord is D minor. So what about these last two, the submediant and the subtonic? So the submediant, the bottom interval is going to be E flat and G. Let's check that out. Let's go a little further down here. So here's E flat right here and G. So let's count. So E flat, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's plus 4 semitones. So this is going to be, the bottom interval is a major third. From G to B flat, so G to B flat, what is that? 1, 2, 3. That's plus 3 semitones. That's a minor third. So we have a major third in the bottom, a minor third on top. What is that? Major third on bottom, minor third on top. That's going to be a major chord. So E flat major. All right, what about F, A, C here? F and A, we actually already did F, A up here. All right, but let's just do it again. So F to A, what is that? That's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, plus 4 semitones. That's a major third in the bottom. What about from A to C? Well, we already did A to C up here, but let's just do it again. A to C is going to be what? It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 3 semitones. That's a minor third. So we have a major third on the bottom, and we have a minor third on top. So this is going to be an F major. Okay? And again, this is just to reiterate the fact that chords are just stacked thirds. Now, depending what type of third interval, major or minor, is in those stacks, that's going to determine the quality. And so we've actually determined, we've set out and met our objective. We have now figured out and built all the chords of the G minor scale. Okay? And the last thing I want to do is just leave you with a couple of notes. All right? So the first thing I want to point out, though, is that if you're in the context of a natural minor key, then this is the order of the chord quality. So for example, if we were in A minor, okay, so A minor is A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, okay? Then, okay, so this is the scale, the A minor scale. Then we already know the ordering of the chord quality, which is right there. So it's going to be minor, it's going to be diminished. I'm just going to write dim. It's going to be major, and then minor, major, and then major. Okay, so now we know the chords of A minor. It's going to be A minor, B diminished, C major, D minor, E minor, F major, and G major. Those are the chords of A minor. And again, it doesn't matter what key you're in, because if you're in a natural minor key, then this is going to be the order of the chord quality according to the according to the scaling or the ordering of the scale degrees. All right, and the next thing is just an easier way to remember this, okay? So if you look here, this is going to be true for all natural minor scales, or all natural minor keys, but the tonic, subdominant, and dominant are all going to share the same quality. So as you can see, the tonic is G minor, the subdominant is C minor, and the dominant is D minor. And those are the only minor chords. Just the tonic, the subdominant, and the dominant. They share the minor quality. And this is actually true in a major key. The tonic, subdominant, and dominant all share the same quality, which is going to be major. Okay? And so the question is, well, how do you figure out what the other qualities of the chords are? Okay? It's because we have diminished and we have the major. So the thing to notice is that if we skip this diminished chord and just jump from G to B flat, we're going to get we're going to go from minor to major, and that's going to hold true. That relationship is going to hold true. When we just skip one, if we're on a minor and we skip one, we're going to land on a major. Let's test that out. So here we are in C minor. If we skip one, we're going to land on a major, and we surely do. It's E flat major. Here's D minor. If we skip one, we're going to land on a major, and we surely do. It's F major. And the reason why that works out is because when we skip one, we're actually jumping to the relative major. Okay, so for example, D minor is going to be the relative minor of F major, and F major is going to be the relative major of D minor. And what that means is that if I write out this is a little bit advanced, but C, D, E, F, and G. If I write out the A minor scale, the relative minor, as we can figure out now, the relative major of the A minor scale is going to be C major. All right, remember, because when we just skip from the minor to the major, we're skipping to the relative major. So here we are in A, and if we want to figure out, and this is A minor, and so we skip to the relative major here. And what relative major means is that A minor, the key of A minor, and the key of C major, they have the exact same notes. Okay, so the key of C major is just C, D, E, F, G, A, B. The key of A minor is A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Okay, and so they have the same notes. So that's what it means to be a relative major or minor of something. Okay, so what this means is that G minor and B flat major, they have the exact same notes. So the B flat major is going to be the exact same thing as the G minor scale, except it starts on B flat major. So B flat major, the scale is going to be B flat, C, D, E flat, F, G, and A. Okay? And so that's what a relative major or relative minor means, is they have the exact same notes in the scale. So for example, C minor is the relative minor of E flat major, and E flat major is the relative major of C minor. So that means that the key of C minor has the exact same notes as the key of E flat major. That's what it means to be a relative key. Okay, they just share the same set of notes. Okay. Now, why did I get into that? That's because I was trying to help you come up with a way to remember this ordering. Okay, and the ordering is that, and the way to remember it is that the tonic, subdominant, and dominant are always going to share the same quality, and then from that you can deduce all the relative majors. And that leaves one more, which is going to be the supertonic, and that's going to be diminished. I think that's it for this video. The next thing is, now we know how these chords, how to build these chords just starting from these pitches in the scale. The question is now, how do these relate to each other? I've kind of introduced the relative relation there, but how can we use them to make more effective chord progressions? And that's why I'm glad that I introduced these scale degree names, is because ultimately these scale degree names kind of help understand what the function of each chord could be. But that's for another video. I hope this was informative, and I'm out.